On the first day of school, the girl deliberately sat in the unnoticed corner at the back, but she still could not escape the teacher's attention. The teacher called her name and asked her to read from the book, but unexpectedly she just glanced at it.
Read it.
The teacher thought the girl was going against him and immediately came over and took her book away. An image of that page appeared in the girl's mind, and then she recited it word for word.
You learned it?
Well, I just looked at it. Then I have the page in my mind and can read off the page. I see pictures and connect them.
Her classmates looked at her in disbelief, only because the girl had an extremely special visual perception. Everything she had seen only once could be captured and remembered in her mind. When someone said miracle, the recorded images appeared in her mind. When someone said shoes, all the shoes she had ever seen appeared in her mind. Unfortunately, such a gift was hard to be understood by others, and in her childhood, Temple Grandin seemed to be in a world completely different from those around her. At 4 years old, she still could not speak. Her behavior was strange, and helplessly her mother had to take her to see a doctor. However, the doctor's ruthless diagnosis was like a heavy hammer, completely shattering their hope. Temple was judged to have autism, and perhaps she would never speak. The doctor advised Eustacia to send Temple to a nursing institution, but she did not intend to give up her daughter. She guided her daughter to make sounds again and again. Even if it exhausted her, she still prayed wholeheartedly that her daughter could embrace a normal life. 11 years later, Temple finally broke the doctor's curse and even entered a regular school. However, often provoked and mocked by classmates, Temple could not help teaching them a lesson, and in the end she was persuaded to leave the school. That day, Eustacia brought Temple to a new boarding school, and unexpectedly Temple immediately showed strong interest when she saw those scientific devices.
Hello, I'm Temple. It's very nice to meet you. Are you a scientist?
I used to work for NASA. Mm-hmm.
When it came to science, her eyes shone with a light she had never shown before. Even after arriving here, Eustacia still felt worried. Watching Temple spin around on the swing outside, she felt that doing so was like abandoning her daughter. At this moment, a doctor ran after her, showing understanding and sympathy for this mother with an autistic child.
And I know you saw the children making fun of her, and you want to protect her.
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, what parent doesn't want to? But at some point, she's going to hit life head on. And trust me, we know how different she is.
Different, not less.
Different, but not less.
In this way, Temple left her mother for the first time and began her life at the boarding school. Temple was unconsciously attracted by the animals here. She went to the stable, and a wounded horse was full of wariness toward her. She did not care. Instead, she gently opened the door, walked close to it, and soothed it, and the horse gradually became calm. Just like Temple, it longed to be treated with kindness. From then on, she slowly integrated into the school, though she really had no interest in French, and she was often mocked by others. That day, she had just finished making a wooden cart when a boy mocked her. Temple immediately fought back, but the boy complained first, and as a result she was punished by the teacher, not allowed to ride horses for 2 weeks. Dr. Carlock saw all of this. After school she went to the stable, only to find that the horse had suddenly died. Dr. Carlock was worried and followed her. Temple asked in confusion where the horse would go after death, and he comforted her, saying, "Maybe they will live forever in our hearts." And these words, unexpectedly, stirred up her memories.
I see Chestnut the day I arrived. I see grooming Chestnut. I see a picture of a horse just like Chestnut in a book. We passed a Chestnut horse on Route 119 near a feed store. There was one in a calendar at Aunt Anne's. There was one in Life magazine opposite the page of Mr. Kennedy.
Okay, okay. Can you bring everything you've seen to your mind?
Dr. Carlock discovered that Temple's way of thinking was different from ordinary people. She could quickly grasp concrete things. He excitedly explained to others that Temple was not lacking intelligence, but that her thinking pattern was different. She had difficulty with language and logic, yet she was extremely sensitive to images and space. In order to make Temple understand her gift, Dr. Carlock carefully designed a visual problem course. The same people and objects in the same space could be freely shrunk or enlarged, and Temple instantly became interested.
How did I do that?
Dr. Carlock gave her an assignment. If she could recreate one, he would give her extra credit. Relying on her outstanding spatial imagination, Temple began constructing that wonderful room. She carefully measured objects and recorded every piece of data. She ignored her classmates' laughter, completely immersed in her world of exploration. However, repeated setbacks gradually made Temple lose confidence. She went to Dr. Carlock hoping for some inspiration.
You have to think of all the features in the room. The walls, the floor, the ceilings, the doors.
Very soon her model was completed. She showed her work to everyone, and her classmates all gathered around.
And here is the room.
Congratulations.
This time they were convinced by this strange girl, and to reward her, Dr. Carlock launched a small rocket he had just developed. Everyone was lucky to witness this moment. Dr. Carlock and Temple chatted on campus. He found that Temple was truly very smart.
You know that? You see the world in ways that others can't, and that's quite an advantage.
He encouraged Temple to go to university for further study. With her intelligence, she was sure to shine in some field. But Temple said she only wanted to stay here. She knew it would be very hard for her to adapt to the outside world. Dr. Carlock encouraged her.
Temple, think of it as a door. A door that's going to open up onto a whole new world for you. And all you need to do is decide to go through it.
This encouragement was like a ray of light in the darkness, shining into Temple's heart, igniting her passion for learning and exploring the world, and becoming the belief that helped her overcome difficulties in the future. Soon the boarding school life ended, and Temple came to Aunt Anne's house where she would spend the summer. The livestock on the farm seemed to have a special magic, deeply attracting Temple. As soon as she arrived, she had to get out of the car to open the gate for her aunt, and instantly in her mind she measured the angle. Because of autism, Temple was especially sensitive to everything around her, and sometimes even small things could make her lose control of her emotions. To help Temple settle down, Anne stuck a label with Temple's name on the door. She wanted to gently hug Temple, but Temple hurriedly dodged. She could not bear any physical contact with anyone. After her aunt left, Temple immediately got up and studied the structure of the vent on the wall with full attention, as if something had occurred to her. Early the next morning, she went to the farm gate, using the structure she had studied last night to prepare a set of automatic opening devices. And she seemed to be born with a sharp sense of animals, even able to notice the gaze of the horses. At this moment, the restless cattle in the distance caught Temple's attention. The cowboys were roughly driving the herd into a squeeze chute. The cows' heads were locked in place, their bodies clamped tightly by the machine so they could not move, and then they were given regular vaccinations. A few seconds later, Temple noticed that the frightened and uneasy calf suddenly calmed down.
What happened to it? It calmed down.
They just like it. Gentles them.
Her curiosity was completely aroused. She stared at this squeeze machine for hours. After that, she spent her days circling the herd, carefully observing their every move. When dealing with people, she always felt nervous, but with these cattle, she felt especially comfortable. Her aunt asked Temple what plans she had for college, but from her expression, it seemed she did not really want to go.
I don't understand people. Because the people at school know I don't understand them, and some of my friends anyway.
What don't you understand?
And I say, I'm happy. And they say, well, you don't look happy. And I say, can't you see I'm thinking? And can't you see I'm sad? And I don't know what they're talking about.
Anne took photos of Temple's facial expressions, angry ones, happy ones. Temple wrote the corresponding emotions under each photo. However, the incident that pushed Temple's emotions out of control still happened. The maid entered Temple's room and accidentally knocked the label off her door. When she returned and saw the label missing, her emotions collapsed instantly. Everything in the room became terrifying, and she ran out in panic. Her aunt, worried, chased after her. Temple moved through the cattle and went straight into the squeeze machine used for vaccinating cows.
Don't be silly.
Her aunt felt helpless and had no choice but to do as Temple asked. The moment Anne pressed the switch, something incredible happened. The restless and anxious Temple gradually felt an unprecedented calm, and her nerves finally settled. But this scene left her aunt deeply shocked by Temple's behavior. Soon, Temple's summer vacation was about to end, and her mother drove to the farm to pick her up. When she saw the sign at the gate, she instantly knew it was Temple's work. The gate could be opened easily without getting out of the car, both convenient and effortless. But when Eustacia saw the squeeze machine, her expression changed instantly. Anne told her that although it looked rough, it really worked for Temple. Yet Temple still did not seem ready for college. She told her mother she wanted to stay on the farm. Her mother was determined. She hoped Temple could go further. Her uncle encouraged her.
No one expected it. It's nothing short of a miracle.
Hearing this, Temple suddenly changed her mind.
It's a miracle.
So Temple stepped into college life with hope for the future and a little unease. But life at college was not as smooth as she had imagined. Autism still followed her everywhere. She was out of sync with her classmates, unable to fit into group life, and always looked lonely in the crowd. The sound of chopping vegetables and all kinds of noise made her extremely irritable. What frightened her the most was the automatic sliding door, which instantly reminded her of an ancient execution device. The whispers and mocking laughs of her classmates almost pierced through her. She dropped everything and fled in panic. To find that rare sense of peace in her dorm room, Temple built a simple version of the squeeze machine based on the one from the farm. When she went inside the squeeze machine again, the long-lost feeling of being embraced returned. Just then, her roommate moved in, and when she saw this unusual scene, she immediately assumed Temple was strange and went to complain to the school. Soon Temple was called in for a talk. No matter how she explained, they still could not understand. In the end, her squeeze machine was confiscated by the school. At night, Temple sneaked out while her roommate was asleep, planning to bring the squeeze machine back, but she was caught by security. She hid in a panic and saw the squeeze machine crushed under the guard's foot. Temple was heartbroken. She returned to her aunt's farm intending to build another squeeze machine, and if the school would not allow her to bring it back, she would not return. Her kind aunt drove all night with the squeeze machine to the school, explaining to the administrators that it helped Temple calm down and was not some strange contraption. But no matter how she pleaded, they were unmoved. They said it was not very scientific, with no experimental proof, and even bluntly suggested the school might not be suitable for Temple. Temple decided to do an experiment herself, to prove this device really worked. So she invited some classmates to experience the squeeze machine and carefully recorded each person's feelings. She also researched a lot of related materials and wrote a paper. But this paper only earned her an F. Temple remembered Dr. Carlock's words. She organized all the test data and treated this unfair grade as a door. She resolutely pushed open the door and went to Mr. Neal to ask for a reevaluation. But Mr. Neal was very perfunctory. Reluctantly, he had to check it face-to-face, and Temple's rigorous test results completely changed his opinion.
This is excellent, and I think it will be a good grade.
So I keep my machine. In that case, I'll stay.
In this way, Temple's squeeze machine was allowed to stay, and Temple also welcomed a new roommate, Alice, a blind girl. She did not reject having the machine in the room. She simply reached out to gently touch it, and although she did not know what it was, she could feel that it must be very important to Temple. Temple was so happy that for a moment she forgot Alice could not see and even invited her to watch TV together. But Alice did not mind at all. Instead, she asked Temple to guide her way. Temple was at first a little overwhelmed, but she still gathered her courage and raised her arm. Temple would patiently narrate the movies for Alice, using vivid language to describe the images and plots, showing her a colorful and rich world. Alice also gave Temple an understanding and tolerance she had never felt before, and in each other's worlds they found comfort and companionship. From then on, every time before French class, she would relax for a while in the squeeze machine, and then go to class. She no longer hid in the corner, but bravely began to speak.
Excuse me, is the seat taken? No.
She kept pushing her limits, and in her world where she had never known her mother's embrace, the squeeze machine filled that missing gentleness, constantly healing Temple's heart. 4 years later, Temple graduated from college with excellent grades, and she even gave a speech as the student representative. Because of her love for animals, she chose animal science as her field for graduate study. One day, Temple followed her professor on a visit to a slaughterhouse, where she keenly noticed that the cows' calls were special and carried many variations. But those sounds were always ignored by people. In one of the procedures, to prevent the herd from parasite infection, cowboys would usually jab them with sticks, whip them, and shout loudly to drive the cattle. The cries of the herd were full of tension and panic, and although they could swim, in extreme fear, they still risked drowning. Temple saw with her own eyes a calf panic and slip to the ground, and the cowboys struggled with all their strength to drag it out of the pool. The scene was chaotic and tragic. In such situations, 1 or 2 cattle were lost every week, yet the farm owner dismissed it lightly. At that moment, Temple noticed the cattle liked to move in curves. Circling away from the handlers could calm them down. Temple told the farm owner about this discovery, but he paid no attention. From that day on, she studied the cattle's calls and their curved walking habits every day, and she wrote a master's thesis. At first, Temple did not gain her professor's recognition. The experienced professor thought cattle calls had no research value and even lowered her academic level. But Temple was persistent. She observed the cattle's alert range, and when something unfamiliar approached, their soft lowing would turn sharp. What seemed like a small change was already a sign the herd had been frightened. Startled cattle would get scratched, fight each other, and when entering the disinfectant pool, they were more likely to drown in panic, causing economic losses to the ranch. Eventually, she gained her professor's approval, but her thesis needed the farm owner's signature to be confirmed. Temple drove to the ranch again, but was stopped at the gate.
Sorry, ma'am. No women on lot.
My name is Temple Grandin. I'm a grad student at
That's
Arizona
rules,
State.
ma'am.
She had to find another way. She noticed sharply that everyone entering the cattle ranch was male, and all drove rusty pickup trucks. So Temple came up with a plan. She drove her Volkswagen Beetle to the car shop and exchanged it for a pickup. Then she bought a cowboy outfit, put it on, and even rolled on the ground a few times until she was dirty all over. Finally, she threw mud all over the clean car, smearing it everywhere, and after this effort her whole appearance had completely changed. In this way she entered the ranch with ease. She walked into the herd and crouched on the ground, observing everything from the perspective of a cow. It was then that she realized light and shadow made the passage appear complicated. The puddles on the ground reflected glaringly, the swinging metal chains, and the clothes hanging on the fence. All of these were unknown dangers in the eyes of cattle, triggers that caused them to panic. She focused intently on her research, completely unaware of the strange looks from others. When she was ready to drive home, she found that the cowboys had thrown cattle entrails all over her car windows. She forced herself to stay calm, threw the waste back, and pretended to be unbothered as she drove away. But once home, she immediately hid inside her hug machine, where her restless emotions slowly eased. The next day, Temple still returned to the feedlot to continue her research, and the foreman, who had been silently watching her, was touched by her persistence and seriousness. He took the initiative to talk with Temple and even helped her sign the documents the farm owner had refused to sign. Knowing she was interested in livestock behavior, he suggested Temple should not only stay in the feedlot, but also visit ranches, auctions, and arenas to learn more. So Temple went to an auction house where she met someone important, the editor-in-chief of a livestock magazine. He greatly admired Temple's talent, and with his help, Temple's thesis was successfully completed and published. This thesis not only allowed Temple to graduate smoothly, but also made her the only graduate student in her entire family and even in the town. Relatives who once looked down on her now rushed to connect with her. Temple still wanted to enter the ranch for research, but this time she was stopped and told she needed insurance before going in. She went to the newspaper boss and said she wanted to keep writing articles for them.
Can I get a press pass?
You asking for a staff job?
No, I don't want to work here. I want to be with cattle, so I need a pass.
The boss agreed to her request and even arranged for an assistant to buy Temple some decent clothes, putting a badge on her that represented her new status. Temple finally entered the ranch smoothly, and afterward she continued to publish many articles, becoming widely known in the field. One day the manager of a feedlot approached Temple and asked if she could help design a disinfectant pool. Temple agreed without hesitation. She sat by the river, racking her brain, thinking about how to make the cattle pass through the pool calmly, orderly, and quickly. At that moment, a calf caught her attention. It stepped slowly into the river without any panic. Temple was immediately inspired. The slope needed speed bumps so the cattle could enter the water slowly and feel safe. She drew her design in one go, and soon the disinfectant pool she designed began to take shape. On the day before it was put into use, Temple gave a demonstration. The herd walked slowly into the curve, circling in order, and the cowboys didn't need to drive them, only to walk slowly in the opposite direction. The herd did not panic, because the grooves on the slope cushioned them, and after entering the water steadily, they swam by themselves until they reached the steps on the other side. One by one, without whips or shouting, the herd quickly passed through the disinfectant pool. The whole process was orderly and perfect. But the day before it was officially put to use, a few ignorant cowboys ruined everything. They did not agree with Temple's design, thinking it was too slow and a waste of time, so they changed it without permission. They replaced the cushioned slope with steel plates, which resulted in 3 cattle drowning. When Temple arrived the next day, she saw this scene while the cowboys stood aside sneering. Temple was furious.
Who put steel on that slope? Cattle can't walk on steel. That's designed so they walk slowly.
Excuse me, little miss. We just had 3 head drowning here.
That's your fault. You killed them because of your stupidity. If it's smooth, they'll follow it. They ruined it.
That night she drove straight to Dr. Carlock's house, but her anger could not be hidden.
Are you talking about a slaughterhouse?
Oh, of course you're going to get slaughtered. You think we have cattle if people didn't eat them every day? They just be funny-looking animals in zoos. We raise them for us. That means we owe them some respect.
Did you hear what I said, Temple? I think you're the one.
Dr. Carlock's words once again reignited Temple's determination. So Temple visited slaughterhouses everywhere, but each time she was driven out. A few days later, she suddenly received the news that Dr. Carlock had passed away. Temple could not believe it. Just 2 days ago, he had seemed fine. At the funeral, Temple's face was filled with confusion. If the departed could not feel love anymore, why did people still come to say goodbye? Her mother told her this was a way of respect and farewell. For the first time, she took off her most treasured medal and left it with her most respected teacher. Before leaving, she also, for the first time, walked up to her mother and let her hold her. It was the first time in many years Temple accepted her mother's embrace, and her mother wept with joy. From that day on, she faced life more openly. She tried to overcome her fear of automatic doors, and when others questioned her designs, she was not afraid.
How much money does it cost you to pay handlers to prod the cattle along and then hold them back when they stampede? Yeah. How many times a day do your chutes stop because of pileups? Yeah. How many cows break a leg and bring everything to a halt? With my system, there'd be none of that. There'd be a steady, calm flow.
Finally, she convinced these ranchers. Temple's hard work paid off. Her water pool design greatly improved the efficiency of slaughterhouses, and it gained wide attention and recognition from professionals. This achievement not only helped Temple stand out in the academic field, but more importantly, she used her own methods to win better living conditions for the animals. One day, Temple went with her mother to attend an autism seminar. At the meeting, so-called experts spoke at length, but they never truly touched the inner world of autistic people. A little girl spun in circles nonstop, and her mother beside her could do nothing. Temple seemed to see her younger self.
It can be a way to compensate for not being held. Being held by another person is scary, but rolling or being held by surfaces produces the calming effect that ordinary children get from a hug.
How old's your child?
Well, I don't have children. No, I'm autistic.
Everyone was shocked. They had never seen an autistic person speak so confidently and fluently in public. She was even more confident than many ordinary people. They asked Temple how she managed to do it.
My mother refused to believe that I wouldn't speak. And when I learned to speak, she made me go to school. And in school and at home, manners and rules were really important. They were pounded into me. My mother pushed me to become self-sufficient. I worked summers at my aunt's ranch. I went to boarding school and college. Those things were uncomfortable for me at first, but they helped me to open doors to new worlds.
Excuse me, please, but we want to hear everything.
Yes, please.
At this moment, Eustatia's eyes filled with tears. All her years of effort had been worth it. When Temple took the microphone bravely, she once again thought of Dr. Carlock's words. Think of it as a door that opens to a new world. That autistic girl who had once been told she would never live independently, Temple Grandin, had now become a professor of animal science at Colorado State University. At the same time, she was a livestock design expert and an author, using her life to write an inspiring story of triumph. From a lonely child forgotten in the corner of the world, she had become a respected scholar and contributor to society. Every step Temple took was incredibly hard, but she never gave up her love for life or her pursuit of dreams. This film is not just a biography of Temple. It is more like a hymn to the resilience of life. It shows us the inner world of people with autism, and it lets us feel the power of love and perseverance.